Well, thank you for having me. And Zoe, I'm glad this worked out, that we are doing this remote, because I wouldn't have been able to do that because we are down at the river at our place and closing it up this weekend. So bear with my non-office behind me here. So my name is Tracy Lauritzen. I've been in marketing in the Rochester area, actually, in business for 30 years, but in marketing for probably around 20. And February of 2018, I decided to go off on my own and start my own firm called Krakerjak. So I'm hoping to shed a little light on some different verticals that I work in today, and give you some food for thought and just get you thinking a little bit differently. So that's my intent and my plan. So I hope that's okay with everyone. So Zoe mentioned, if you do have questions, just go ahead as you think of them, just throw them in the chat and we'll get to them as soon as we can. But I'm going to do a little interactive. I think some of you have heard me speak before, and I'm very in tune with the audience, and I want to make sure that everyone's active and involved. So you'll hear little cues from me say quiz time, and you're welcome to unmute for just a second to answer the quiz question. Is that fair with everyone? Yay! I see thumbs up, so I'm gonna go with that. All right, so I get asked all the time, right? What does Krakerjak actually mean? So I'll just start with that real quick. So Krakerjak, this is the actual definition of Krakerjak, but what I really took from it and appreciated when I decided to use that terminology was the words excellence, remarkable, and superior. And that's just the type of service that I like to bring to my clients. Enough about me. All right, so in 2018, February 2018, I was asked to do a speaking engagement for CETA. Shameless plug to CETA, we love CETA. The topic was actually on trends and what businesses should know and plan for. And again, I just talked about those things in my primary verticals, marketing, sales, and analytics. And I thought, you know, that might be fun to look back on here today and see what might be different and what we can learn from that. So that's what I'm going to take you through today as a little history journey. So let's start with marketing. In the marketing realm, I talked about things that were in areas of traditional media like television, radio, touched on digital, social media, and then I also spoke about how those things can work together. So here we go, quiz time. What type of marketing initiative was predicted as becoming an integral piece to a brand strategy? February of 2018.
Social media?
Anyone else?
Video.
Ha ha ha. Events. Think that might be different now, huh? So according to the senior manager of events at Marketo was a huge digital agency, just so you know, they're digital. 2018 marketing predictions state events will become a more integral piece of marketing strategies with engagement as the indicator of success. The intent is to drive attendees to engage with a brand or message in more ways, at more times, in more places, creating a stronger, more cohesive customer journey. Think about that for just a moment. All right, quiz time again. So fast forward to today, where do you think Americans are spending their time in 2020?
At home.
Online, on social media, on Zoom.
Touring Minnesota. They've sold out all their bikes from bicycle sports, all their kayaks from Tyrol skiing sports. So camping and stuff, trying to de-isolate from this pandemic.
Outside.
Believe it or not, consuming TV and movies, right? As a matter of fact, television consumption in the US is up 29% through the month of March just the month of March. Plus, adults are spending 70% more of their time on their smartphones. All right, so let's talk about some stats here going on. Breaking this down, a Global Web Index, so the GWI survey reveals that US respondents are spending their time where 43% of them say watching more news coverage. 42% of them say they're watching shows and films on streaming services like, Netflix and Hulu, etc. And 42% of them more time watching television on broadcast channels. So I don't know if you guys remember this, just I say that like you were at my presentation, but you weren't. Anyway, I talked about appointment television. And so this is very interesting that these facts are kind of coming out. Okay, so put this into perspective a little bit more. What does this really mean? So average daytime viewing minutes in February of 2020, our average time was 275 minutes per day watching television. In March alone, that jumped to 354 minutes per day. If anyone wants to do some math, Jess, my banker friend over there, that's about 6 hours of television consumption a day. Yowza. All right, and even more, 66% of Americans are less likely to cancel their cable and satellite subscription because of the pandemic. And 38% of adults who have subscribed to streaming services this year in 2020 said they did so because of coronavirus. And I'm just gonna read a moment. When I talked in February of 2018, I talked about the I wouldn't say demise, but that's a pretty strong word, but the massive decline in subscription television, where it's cable and satellite television. It was on a massive decline, double-digit decline year after year since it peaked in 2014. And at the same time, antenna sales were going out of control because people still wanted their broadcast television, but they didn't want to pay those high cable bills. So it's very interesting that now, because of COVID, 2/3 of them are not going to cut those cords. Shift. All right, let's not forget about digital, right? So comparing March of 2020 to March of 2019, time spent online on mobile devices accessing current events and global news is up 21.5%. And where did they turn to? This is very exciting. They actually are looking for local news, even online on their phones. And 60% of them said they did not trust social media as providing trustworthy information to them during COVID. They didn't trust social media. All right, back to our quiz here. Last one on marketing, by the way. All right, so what do you guys think? Should you decrease, increase, or keep your advertising spend the same? What do you think? Shoulder shrugs, I like it.
Well, like I would like to say increase and be all noble, but I know I haven't with budget cuts.
I think people have been increasing their spend on social media to boost their posts and to get a little more visibility on that. I know email marketing has definitely gone up. People are jumping in that inbox. My inbox, I turn away from it for a couple of hours and I come back and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. So I think people are spending more on that in digital marketing and the emails, social media, and that sort of thing.
Tracy, at one point in time, just to piggyback off from Cheryl, and I might be interrupting and I apologize, but somebody said that like email marketing is totally out because you can so easily just breeze by, delete, delete, delete. How do you feel about USPS mailing somebody a letter?
You want me to answer that, Jess?
Sure.
Okay. So here's interesting. I did not put this in my presentation here today, but it is noteworthy because of what you guys are asking about in email. So bear with me on the exact number, but just email marketing, emails have increased on average from 4,000 to 40,000 emails within a month. So here's the interesting thing about that though. We tie, as marketers, researchers, we tie most of that to correspondence about what was happening with COVID. So is my store closed? Here's how I'm keeping the health and safety of my employees. Those kinds of emails. You guys remember getting a lot of those, right? But it bombarded our inboxes, and to the point that actually people are going, this is where some of those stats came from, going back to searching on their own whether your business is open or closed. And so later I will talk about how important it is to phone a friend to ensure that your information is as accurate as possible every single day. It is so important to do that because people do not know if you're open or closed. So to answer your question though, Jess, mail, snail mail, right? Sometimes we call it, marketing is still a valid. I mean, it's still out there. Currently, unfortunately, it's probably going to get dismissed a little bit or shuffled in because we have so much political mail going on. But that doesn't mean that in 3 weeks or so that it might not be something to consider. And I would answer that with the consultant, it depends answer, because it really depends on your business. It depends on your marketing. And more importantly than anything, it depends on your persona. Who do you want to target? You got to answer that first. Who is my customer? Then how do I talk to them? And then where do I talk to them? It's always in that order. Always, always in that order. I don't care if it's pandemic or if it was in 2018 when I was talking about other media stuff. Does that help anyone? Okay, sounds good. Okay, so back to my question. Should you decrease, increase, or keep your advertising the same? It totally depends. I made this meme and I like it. So the Bobs are helping me out here today. But here's why. So think about this. If others in your industry are decreasing or canceling their business, their marketing, right? Your business has a unique opportunity to increase your share of voice. You get more voice out there then. When they can't hear others, you get more voice. So think about that if it's right for your business. I'm not saying it's right for everyone. That's why I'm saying it depends. But right now, budget cuts are reducing spend for many marketers by about 40%. So there may be an opportunity for your type of business to get out there. And clearly media consumption habits have changed, exactly what Jess was saying. And I apologize, I didn't hear who was talking about the email. I can't always see your names on there. So anyway, obviously our consumption has definitely changed. We're spending more time indoors. So just think about that for a moment. How can you, as a business owner, capitalize on that? All right, let's move on to sales. Who doesn't love sales? All right, so when I was doing, in 18, I talked about products, I talked about importance of location, whether it's online or a physical location. I talked about personas, my favorite thing. I talked about the strategies around pricing. And I spent a majority of the time talking about what's defined as the buyer's journey, which isn't my favorite term because I think they leave some stuff out. Anyway, so I would like to know from you guys, I would like to know from you guys, how have you personally changed your buying habits this year?
Joined a wine club so I don't have to go anywhere.
Love it. I want to do that. Let's talk, Zoe.
Love it, Zoe. Great idea.
Anyone else?
I honestly shop more small business and local than I did before because it seems more important now. So I kind of changed that up from a more local standpoint.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I'm the same way, promoting business within the, through all of this, to not, I obviously, our big region is, Rochester. I have my 11 families in Rochester, but I have a pilot site in my own community, is making that connection between small business, which I am, and large business, connecting that whole bench concept of nonprofits, but making those connections between supporting big business and small business in the service profession as well. We have to think that we don't all have products, that to really promote the services, the service field, and how that is opening up our restaurants and food and all of those event characteristic, how to open up events again.
Perfect. All right. The answers are e-commerce. So between the first week of March to the third week of March, US e-commerce sales increased by 25%. People are buying, they're buying online. And grocery sales doubled. Online grocery sales doubled within that 2-week time period, from the first week of March to the third week of March. Now, excuse me, here's what's fun. I have been doing online grocery shopping for years, literally years. And, I just order them online. I go pick them up at Hy-Vee when I'm going to be in town that day. I know when it's all done. And it's fun to have a long grocery list and you just keep adding to it, etc. But I've gotten in such a nuisance habit of doing this. A few times I've gone to town and I'm like, oh, I need to get milk or whatever. And I have my son with me and he's like, I'm like, oh, got to stop at the grocery store. And he's like, please, Mom, say you ordered online. Like he can't even handle going in the grocery store to get a gallon of milk with me. So, yeah, we're definitely creatures of habit. All right, quiz time again. How many of you have Googled or YouTubed some type of self-help this year? Real quick, so we can stay on task here.
Okay, for elderly, for de-isolation of elderly, that's primarily, they have to order all their groceries. It's a learning curve that they have to, but to see how that can be done and the services provided to be able to make that happen.
All right, self-help. Who has done self-help this year? Okay, there we go. I get a hand raised. All right, huh?
Does yoga count? I Googled a yoga video.
Yay! Okay, you guys are not alone. This is super fun, I think anyway, because I'm a geek. All right, according to YouTube trends, this is, by the way, if anyone wants any of these stats, let me know. I can send you the list of where I received all of this information. But anyway, according to YouTube stats, these are super fun facts. Because salons are closed and gyms are closed and restaurants are closed, self-help type of searches are just going through the roof. So here's a really fun one. This guy's name is Brad Mondo, and he's a YouTube creator, and he does specialized skills in cutting your hair. Do it yourself, cutting your own hair. Has anyone watched him? He is hilarious. He starts every video with "Hi, beautiful." It is just amazing. Anyway, this one video of his alone is geared towards men. It's a men's edition, men's short hair edition, I should specify, and is already received 1.9 million views. 1.9 million views. Google him, he's hilarious. Okay, but here's some really fun ones, I think anyway. YouTube trends. There's a 210% increase on searches for home office, anything to do with home office. Fitness, home workouts specifically are up 515%. And there's a YouTuber that started, Chloe Ting is her name, and she started a series called 2 Week Abs. There's a whole bunch of them, and they've received over 100 million views already. This is cool. Raising chickens, true story, up 160%. And sourdough, the word sourdough has received a 458% increase in searches. This one's probably not shocking. Do-it-yourself face masks, 299 million views. And by the way, I should point out that this Google Trends was a study done from March and published in June. So it's not even the full realm. It's not even when we had the order of masking. It's crazy stuff, right? But what's also really cool is people are figuring out how to help each other out. And so there is this, this creator launched just in March, and he launched a site, or excuse me, a YouTube channel called Some Good News. That's what this is here. And it's already received 2.5 million subscribers, not views, subscribers. And what he talks about is just very exciting. It's happy stuff. It's happy videos, it's fun videos, it's anything to do with being happy. And I just think that's really cool. And there's just a lot of opportunity out there for reinvention. All right, so we were talking about this a little bit earlier, right? So how easy it is for customers to do business with you today. I want you to really think about that. Phone a friend, have them look at your stuff, have them make a phone call to your office, whatever it is, and go through a user experience. I really, really encourage you to do this. And here's why. In 2018, I did talk about this. Between 15 and 18, mobile searches related to same day shipping were up 120%, spiking in the morning. Can you fathom how much that's up this year? Think about that. In 2018, that was the increase. In addition to that, again, 2018 apps specifically to the restaurant industry that were helpful, order online, delivery, pickup, those kinds of things, tracking my order, were up 120%. App growth was up 120% then. If you knew that, would you have done something different at the time if you owned a business that had that opportunity to use an app for that? And how that's different in today's world. It's essential today, right? I also talked about thinking about just different ways to do things in business. So in 2018, fun story, Domino's at that time had 15 different ways that you could place an order with them. 15. Why? Why do you think that is? Because they wanted to capture every single persona that they could. They wanted to talk to people on the phone. They wanted to take online orders. They wanted people to use apps. They didn't care how you bought from them. They wanted you to buy from them. And so they opened it up to all ways of buying. It makes a lot of sense, right? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, so here's what's interesting.
COVID.
Oops, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I said COVID. I'm sorry.
Oh, right? My husband does that all the time, and my son just dies laughing. Oh, goodness. Too much talking, not enough coffee. All right, so Nielsen did a survey, and they asked people, they asked consumers, should companies do business as usual? Should they be doing business as usual? 41% of them said they strongly disagreed. Consumers expect businesses to do things different today. 34% of them somewhat disagreed. 19% of them somewhat agreed, and only 6% of them strongly agreed that they should be doing business as usual. So your consumers are asking, begging you to do things differently. If you add the math up, that means 75% of consumers want and expect you to do your business different. Aha moments, right? All right, let's move on to analytics. Yay, data is so fun. So in 18, I reviewed things, Google Analytics, social media, AdWords, artificial intelligence, behavioral analytics, things of that nature. And one thing that I just want to rifle through super quickly is, and some of you guys talked about this a little bit, is social media. So I'm asking you, is your business taking full advantage of Facebook enhancements? And the reason I point out Facebook is because it is the big monster. Doesn't mean Instagram's not great, or Twitter, TikTok does not mean that. I'm just going after the big monster here because I have a short period of time. So here's why I'm asking this, is because there's been significant changes to Facebook this year, and they're really focusing on the pandemic. And I think it's very important that you guys take some time and think about that and review your Facebook and maybe even do some massaging to it. So in March, Zuckerberg actually said that we really need to take a look at this differently. And he encourages businesses to advertisers. He was telling them, and I quote, remember to focus on value, empathetic marketing on Facebook, and look for shifts in consumer behavior. Makes sense, right? So saying that, he's obviously going to do some stuff, right? So I am not going to go through all of this, but I'm going to just share with you super, super quickly a whole bunch of stuff that's happened. So in March alone, there was a whole bunch of updates. One of them was adding moods to stories. In April, they did some new accessibility tools and live streaming. In May, they opened up Facebook shops and they added a hashtag support small businesses. In June, they did huge, and by the way, if you have something to sell, Instagram, they announced making adjustments to their commerce eligibility requirements, which is really big for local shops. If you are Instagram, you need to check that out. In July, they opened up some different things for live in messenger rooms. In August, they supported posts for groups. They added an educational hub. Nancy, you should check that out. In September, they're preparing for a huge iOS 14 update. By the way, if you have an iOS Apple device, you might want to keep track on that. But they also added a dashboard where you can link Facebook and Instagram information together and upload in one place. They also added auto inventory ads as an opportunity. Sorry, I didn't click fast enough. And things are coming soon. They're already launching ads limited on per page. So if you're an advertiser in your scroll, they're going to be in 2021. We don't know all the details yet, but they're going to limit the number of ads a user sees in their Facebook line. So keep an eye on all of that. Moving on, because there's a lot going on there. Okay, I think this one's more fun. So how many of you have a personal assistant? Oh, come on. No one has an answer. Zoe, do you have a personal assistant? I know you do.
No, I don't, but I abuse Alexa for a lot of things.
Well, as a matter of fact, that's who I'm talking about. In 2018, that was coined as the year of personal assistants because of the fast adoption to those kinds of things. HomePods, Alexa, etc. Right?
Hey Google is mine.
Exactly. So
my Alexa just went off after hearing you say that.
My phone just did too. My phone started beeping at me.
Excellent. Well, this is a huge industry. I want you guys to be aware of this. So big that they actually, in 2020, it's projected to have 50% of Google Apps searches done by voice. 50%. And so who are the industry leaders? I think this is good to know because if you want to do some things, maybe you should focus on where to spend your time. So Google Home has a 23% penetration rate in US homes. That's around 43 million homes in the US. And that's up from 8% in 2017. So nice big strides there. Just a little fun fact that I don't have in here, but Google hardware alone, their suite of hardware, that's like Google Home, Pixel, Nest, Chromecast, all of that kind of stuff, is estimated to generate 19.6 billion, that's a B, in 21. Huge area. But the industry leader is Amazon, with Amazon Alexa, with 31% penetration rate in 2020. And that's up from 21.5% in 17. So they've been the industry leader the whole time, and they continue to make that climb. Apple's HomePod lags significantly. And so I think this is always cool to know, like, so who are these people that are using these voice assistants, right? Believe it or not, 57% of the areas classified as heavy users are over the age of 50.
Mm-hmm.
And the demographic between 25 to 49, 65% of them are labeled as most likely to use voice most often.
Elderly to make phone calls. You know, that's the best gift for Christmas for your elders, is to have them lock in all of their music and phone calls for survival.
And I agree. We had Charlie's parents come over last Christmas, and they're not that old. I mean, she's mid-60. Like, they're not, like, I expect them to know FaceTime and all that stuff. But we have a smart light bulb, and you can tell Google to turn it on and off by the guest bedside. So I just told her, I'm like, oh, you don't have to use the switch. You can just tell Google to do that. And to be honest, I was fully, in how judgmental of me, how I was fully expecting to reset that light bulb while they were staying here. Nope. Every night I heard her, she's like, hey, Google.
We have that on all the lights and TVs in our house, so we can tell Google to run anything we want in the house.
Isn't that fun?
It's nice.
Yes.
Parents and babies too. For babies, like, you know, if they cry or whatever, but to have things done for young children.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you guys agree that the future is coming at us faster than ever before? Yes, absolutely. We are literally in the era called the speed of change, meaning how quickly can you adapt to change, because it is coming at us lightning fast. So here, the data geek in me has to just talk about a few things, right? But here's what's exciting, and why I shared some of the information about what I talked about in 2018 and in the stats, because this is what I truly believe, that data can be used either to drive decisions. You know, should I place significant portions of my advertising budget into events, right? Or it can also reflect on decisions that you may or may not have made. If you knew in 2018 that apps for ordering takeout, tracking orders were up 120%, would you have invested in them? And what would your business look like differently today? So data can tell you a lot of things. It can tell you the past, and it can help you determine what to do in the future. This is the speed of change. This speed of change has literally taught us that big trends have become even bigger. Alexa has become even bigger than she was before. And learning trends is implemented faster. Once you learn something, you've got to react to it, because it is not going to slow down, and you will be left in the dark if you are not reacting as fast as possible. This is the year speed of change. Here's what I'm actually going to give you a little quick story. So I was going to put this in, and I decided not to. So YouTube I just want to talk about YouTube TV for just a second. And remember, I was talking about how there was a huge decline in satellite and cable television, people cutting the cord. Everyone's kind of talked about that little buzzword, cut the cord, right? And the reason that people weren't doing that, and the reason that antenna sales were skyrocketing, is people still want their appointment television. They want to go into their local news, they want their live sports, and they want to watch it real time. And that's just been a real big struggle with the Hulus and those of the world. So YouTube TV found a way to capture that and market to it. So you can now get local in Rochester, KTC, KAMT, KAL, etc., from YouTube TV as your streaming service. And they went so far to actually encouraging you to share yours with your friends and family. So they're not trying, they're not using the capital, let's capitalize onto this and run those subscription rates up super high. They're saying share it with your grandma, your friend, your neighbor, and reduce the rate that you have to pay, because they don't care. They have to just be able to pay those bills and make those margins. And so they know if they can sell this at this price and you can, share that cost with someone else, you're more likely to do it. And you get all the locals and the live sports coverages that you want. Smart move. BP, so as everyone knows, right, is an oil and gas company, right? Well, guess what? They know and they understand, and they don't want to be left in the dark. So this year, they're investing more money in renewables and battery storage than they are in their own oil and gas. They're making the shift. Their actual quote is, is aiming to ride the wave of disruption of instead of being crushed underneath them. They're like, we're not going to go away. We're just going to reinvent ourselves. So here's what I encourage you guys to do seriously is think about this from a customer-centric approach. How can you do your business differently today? And I'm going to ask you this. Think about this for just a minute. Here's my final thoughts. Does your business have a purpose to have a profit? Does your business have a purpose to have a profit? And if it doesn't, you need to think about your business plan a little bit differently. How can you have a purpose today that will turn into a profit? That may be different than what it was 6 months ago. I also ask you this: is your business a want or a need product? And is that want valid today? I know that's really heavy thinking, right? So here's what I want you to just put your brain away for just a second. And I'm calling this your day to reflect on your canvas of creativity. What does your canvas look like? Think about this a little, just bigger. From a consumer standpoint, we heard a bunch of stats on what's going on here today, but think about this. If you're a hotel and you have vacant rooms that you used to occupy with conferences, how can those rooms be reinvented? How can you use those rooms differently than what they were in the past? I have ideas. If you sell clothing, if you sell clothing, think about that differently. If you used to sell suits, maybe you should think about promoting casual clothing from the neck up for Zoom calls, for conference calls. Think about ways that you can do YouTube videos on how you can get ready for a business meeting in 5 minutes from your home, right? We don't have to drive anymore. I want to be ready in 5 minutes for my next call, but I don't want to get on my pajamas. There's no need to get on my pajamas, right? So how can I make that look different to my viewer? Just think differently. Just think a little bit differently, right? Or if you're in the business of happiness, right? You're a life coach or your whatever. How can you use someone's time differently than how they use their time before? When people used to drive into work, why not promote a podcast for drive time? So instead of them driving physically in a car, they use their 15, 20-minute drive time to learn something, to self-heal, to get confidence for the day, to get themselves organized, whatever it is. Or maybe it's at the end of the day, how to decompress from their long Zoom conferences where this crazy lady talked to me at 7:30 in the morning, whatever it is. But think differently. Think from a consumer-centric point of view first. How are they living? And how can they use their business differently today? How can you transact with them differently today? I'm calling this the year of reinventing. How can you reinvent yourself, your business, and be successful? Thank you.